Hey Calvary, it's Chris, your St. Charles campus pastor, and I'm here today just to bring you kind of a few tips and tricks for how to lead your small groups. And so I am by no means a leading small group expert, but I have been leading groups for about 6 or 7 years now. And through kind of trial and error and a few moments of crashing and burning, there's a few tips that I've kind of picked up over the years, and I want to share them with you. So as a small group leader, I hope this encourages you, maybe it challenges you, and gets you excited and inspires you to lead your small group in a healthier and more effective way. So that's kind of my main topic for our time together today, is that once you've got your group going, I'm making the assumption that, okay, you've got a leader, you've got a place to meet, you've got small group members. How do you then keep it on the tracks? Like, how do you keep a small group healthy and sustainable and rolling for a year, 2 years, or however long your small group's together, hopefully a long time. Once the group is established, how do you foster healthy rhythms? How do you continue to lead and grow and inspire in that environment so that people don't get burned out, people don't feel hurt, or people don't feel like they're not being challenged or pushed enough, that they're not getting enough out of it? What are some healthy rhythms that we can establish in our small group? So I've got kind of 5 tips for us today. I hope they're helpful. I hope they're useful, and let's get into them. Number 1, find a healthy rhythm. Find a healthy rhythm. So for most of you, this is going to be a debate between should we meet every other week or every week. Now, I'm an every week kind of guy. I love the consistency. And I think the real downside to meeting every other week is that if you have someone miss one of the meetings, they could go a month without being in that small group. Now, I understand if there's things that you've got to juggle, like work hours and childcare, and there's only one day of the week that works for everyone, and maybe that day only happens every other week. It's more than okay. It's more than fine to meet every other week. For me, though, personally, I like the every week rhythm. And so I want to challenge you, if you're meeting every other week, maybe just think about why are we meeting every other week? Maybe you have a really good reason and you need to be meeting every other week. Maybe it's just, it would take a little more effort and coordination and organization. Maybe we should be meeting every week. So that's what I'm a fan of, but whatever works best for your group, you're going to have to sense that and know that as a leader. That's one of your primary roles, is to find a really good rhythm for your group, and it's going to inspire and cause a lot of health for months and years if your group can get in a good routine and a good rhythm. So number 1, find a healthy rhythm. Number 2, find a healthy assessment. Now, when I talk about assessments, I'm not talking about a Facebook quiz on what kind of dog are you. No, I'm talking about stuff like the Enneagram, or a spiritual gifts assessment, or the Myers-Briggs, like whatever it may be. I would really encourage you, once a year, or maybe once every other year, choose an assessment that your group is on board with. Everyone take it. You can find a lot of these free and online, and then dive into it. It's going to require a little legwork on your part as a leader to do a little bit of research and take the test in advance and kind of know what's going on with it, but it can bear a lot of fruit. So I'm a huge fan of the Enneagram. It's a deep dive into kind of your personality and your wiring and your desires and the rhythms of your heart. Like, it's a big emotional intelligence tool. So I encourage that to you, but it doesn't have to be the Enneagram. It can be a lot of different assessments to help your people grow in their faith and their emotions and their spiritual gifts and their awareness of how they fit into their role within the kingdom. And so I encourage you, find a healthy assessment, do it once a year or every other year, and I think you'll see a lot of fruit from it. Number 3, find healthy hobbies. So for me, as a leader, I really like to have a hobby or an activity or an outing 15 to 20% of my small group's gathering. So whether that's doing it during the same night as the small group at the same time in the same house, and you have a sushi rolling night, and everyone brings like a different ingredient for the sushi. Like that's a real easy thing to do. Or maybe you're going out, like you're grabbing a meal together, or you're going to Top Golf, or you're going bowling, or like whatever the case may be. Just find something that is breaking up a little bit of that structure and the rigidness of like a more formal small group meeting, and really getting out there. You're going to get to know people outside the small group environment. You're going to kind of see some of their true color show, and some of that is just really healthy. It's awesome for you as a leader to be able to experience that, and also it's a really kind of like fast bonding experience. People really bond through experience. So you want to have activities, you want to have fun events, you want to break the monotony of the study week in and week out with interactive things for your group to do. And for me, I like to do those about 15 to 20% of the time, and it keeps things really fresh. Number 4, find healthy outlets. Now, unless you happen to have a PhD in theology, or you do happen to be a licensed counselor, for the majority of us, as we're leading small groups, we're not actually a counselor, and there will be things theologically that are a little bit above our weight class. And that is not a slight in any way. I think as a small group leader, one of the biggest challenges is acknowledging like, hey, we have limitations. We have our own vulnerabilities. We're not perfect. We're walking in this with everyone else. But what you do need to have is you need to have a plan to refer people to licensed counselors, or maybe a pastor if it's a theological issue that you don't feel comfortable wading into, you're not really sure. And that's not to say you're any less of a small group leader. It actually means you're a better small group leader because you know the right people to refer them to. And you're going to have people in crisis eventually if you lead a group long enough. You're going to get a question that you have no clue what the answer is eventually if you lead groups long enough. And so one of the best things you can do is find outlets, find references that you can refer these people to for the health and the sake of your group. And it is a loving kindness to yourself, not to put too much pressure on yourself to have all the answers. And it's a loving kindness to everyone in your group to not try to make up an answer on the spot or to cheapen an answer by quickly Googling it. Like, know who you need to refer people to. It's going to be good for you and your group. Now, the last one, number 5, is find healthy people. So in every group, you're going to have people that want to dominate the conversation. You're going to have people that are more high maintenance than other people. You're going to have people that within a group dynamic, they either want to dominate or they want to derail the conversation. And so the honest reality is all of us are dealing with our own form and kind of brokenness. Like, we're all affected by the fall. We're all living in a post-Genesis 3 world where we all have our issues. But some people in group dynamics function better than others. And the reality is, as a leader, you're going to be drowned out if you have 8 or 9 people in your group that are all dominant personalities that are trying to derail the conversation and fight with one another. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure you have a healthy core, that you've got some stable people in your group that are not perfect, but are emotionally in a good place to help balance people out that may want to be a little more domineering, that may want to derail the conversation, that may be kind of a little sharp with people. And so for me, I love a 4-to-1 ratio. For every person that I've lovingly and kindly identified as like, hey, this is a challenge for me. I'm going to have to put a little more energy into this person. I'm going to have to provide a little bit more care for this person and patience with this person. For every one of those, I like to have 4 people in the group that are a little more stable. Maybe they're emotionally, personality-wise, relationally, just a little more even keel, or maybe they just are really good at being patient and problem solving and being a peacemaker within the group, because you don't want the conversation to get derailed. You don't want to go down a rabbit hole forever when you're trying to keep healthy discussion going. So it's not a mean thing to say like, hey, this person is going to take a little bit more of my energy. It's you as a leader identifying like, I've only got so much to pour out. I can't handle a dozen people that are going to demand massive amounts of energy and patience and my patience for their disruptions. It's not practical. It's not going to happen. And so you want to find healthy people to help balance out the group, because the people that are disruptors, if you will, we want to love them well, and you can only love them well if you're not overwhelmed. So let's kind of recap that. Let's run it back. One, find a healthy rhythm. Most of you, that's every other week versus every week. Two, find a healthy assessment. Again, it's not what kind of dog are you on Facebook. Like, it's a real assessment that's going to reveal something to you about how you feel or how you think or the giftings that God has blessed you with. Three, find healthy hobbies. Keep it interactive, keep it entertaining. You want to have high engagement within your group and the activities you're doing. Four, find healthy outlets. Know who you're going to reference someone to before the crisis happens. Five, find healthy people to balance your group out so that you have a solid core that can still find its way even when you have someone that's a little high maintenance or disrupting your group, for the sake and health of the overall group. So that's the 5 healthy tips I have for how to keep your small group healthy once it's started. And I just want to close by sharing a verse that I find that's really powerful, and I think it applies to small group leaders especially. And it's 2 Corinthians 3, verses 1 through 3. Paul says this: "Are we beginning to commend ourselves again, or do we need, like some people, letters of recommendation to you or from you? You yourselves are our letter, written on our hearts, known and read by everyone. You show that you are a letter from Christ, the result of our ministry, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, not on tablets of stone, but on tablets of human hearts." So it says, you yourselves are a recommendation written on our hearts, known and read by everyone. Friends, the people that you lead in your small group, they are known and read by everyone. Do you see the people in your small group not as just projects to be managed, or not as just merely just friends to casually hang out with, but a deeper intimacy of that I love and care and am deeply connected and rooted to these people, and this is my ministry calling, pouring into them, that they would be letters written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, known and read by all, impacting our homes, city, and world. So that's kind of my challenge, that's my exhortation to you, and that's all I got. So I've had that passage, had the 5 tips. I hope this quarantine gets over soon so we can get back to some of our small group regularities. But in the meantime, keep fighting the good fight through Zoom meetings, small groups, or whatever you're doing. We'll continue to keep eating our quarantine stashes and wearing sweatpants every day of the week. And but I hope in the end you're encouraged, you're challenged to lead well, to lead your small group into healthy rhythms, and that these tips helped you. Have a good one, everyone. Peace out.